Jersey raises terror threat level for white supremacists. Of course, the translation is white people who are not anti-white. New Jersey raises terror threat level for white people who are not anti-white to high. Too high. Now, what's important about this is that is written poorly. Is the first thing. God, equality is amazing, isn't it? You just end up with something circling the drain constantly. New Jersey Homeland Security officials have increased the threat level for white people who are not anti-white to its highest level possible, according to a new report. The New Jersey Office of Homeland Security and preparedness. You know what's so disgusting about this? When the Homeland Security, so-called Homeland Security, says this is what you need to have in case of emergency, nowhere do they mention any tools of self-defense. Nowhere. Listen, folks, you just disarm yourself so that the anti-whites can come and do whatever they want to you. I mean, you could, because you'll really have an opportunity to defend yourself when 100 raving anti-white lunatics show up with firearms of their own or just 100 bodies. So let's see here. Preparedness has boosted the threat level from white people who are not anti-white groups from moderate, where it was listed in 2019, to high for 2020. The new report released Friday reads, the only other group to receive that dubious distinction are homegrown, violent ISIS extremists. But here's the thing. You're going to love this in one moment. And this, I can't yell, even though I would like to. The decision to put white people who are not anti-white at the highest possible level comes after a number of threats and attacks in 2019. And of course, the categorization of threats and attacks reaches the number that they want it to reach by defining things like a non-white person or an anti-white white person calling up and saying, somebody hurled a bad name at me today. Because, you know, these people who can't figure out what sex they are or what exotic hair color they'd like to have are totally trustworthy people. They're the same people who get abducted and probed by aliens, the same people who spend all day in opium dens, the same people of various sorts, the same people who are, oh Lord, we could just go down the list of everything that is outrageous about these folks. They're being raped by ghosts and things of this nature. They're totally trustworthy. And then they also call up Homeland Security and they say, I had a mean name, somebody beat me up or whatever. And then, of course, we find out that these hate hoaxes become hush crimes when they are revealed to be hoaxes. In New Jersey, a man, a man allegedly, listen to this. This is what they actually have to go on. This is why they are raising, and I'm going to say this in a minute, this threat level of white people who are not anti-white up to this level. In New Jersey, a man allegedly conspired with members of a neo-Nazi network to vandalize synagogues in the Midwest. So because a man and what's the neo-Nazi network, ladies and gentlemen? We know what it is. It's called Agent Smith, Agent Jones, Agent Johnson, Agent Dipshit. That's what the neo-Nazi network is composed of. And then some man, some idiot who was listening to some content producer looking a fool in his videos saying that violent things needed to be done to kick this off so that somebody else can quickly come in and end this for you. He then talked with these people and said, yeah, you know, maybe I could end up out there. I could do X, Y, or Z. And then the feds sweep in and arrested him for conspiring with these agents to do so, vandalize. To vandalize. I mean, this is something children do. Vandalize. And then we go and we slap them on the wrist and we say, listen, Johnny, you don't do stupid stuff like that. Now you're going to have to work 200 hours of community service. You're going to go scrub all that garbage off. You're going to go work at the pound and take care of animals. You're going to go learn that you don't do this in the community. And then Johnny learns and then everybody else learns. But this man, he's going to go to jail for who knows how long because he was conspiring to vandalize a synagogue. Now, of course, all of this may or may not be true. And the agents, that's all happening in World of Warcraft. Just ask Snopes. He also allegedly, he also allegedly, listen to this, sat with a machete, allegedly, in a parking lot of a New Jersey mall and considered an attack. He sat in a parking lot and considered an attack on shoppers. There was also an increase in efforts by these so-called groups to identify and recruit members in New Jersey. And of course, we'll find out later that the groups who are endeavoring to recruit people are actually cells operated by foreign media outlets, the federal government of the United States, groups may be funded by other NGOs and the like. Of course, all of that is false that I just said. And but that's what we end up finding out. And so this is also what they are informing their decision in New Jersey. The report said that supporters of this ideology demonstrate a willingness and the capability, to consider an attack, to consider vandalizing, to carry out attacks. They might break open a can of spray paint and then use it maliciously rather than maybe painting over the rotting wood. They will directly use this spray paint maliciously along the sides of these synagogues. Nationwide, these groups carried out 4 attacks, threats of violence, and they stockpiled weapons, according to this New Jersey Homeland Security idiots that are dedicated totally to inflicting harm on Western kind and Western civilization, ladies and gentlemen. So, are you going to be stockpiling weapons? Are you going to continue listening to these folks? Are you going to continue letting others out there to listen to people who are advocating these sorts of behaviors? Because you're just going to get roped into some federal group, and they're all going to be agents, and you're going to go to jail for 10 years, 20 years for considering painting some symbol from the past that's not going to do anybody any good, certainly not us. And you'll be in the prison with the rape that you'll be experiencing for even considering doing this. Under the category of hometown violent extremists. Okay, we go on. I want to get to the point. I know they said some. Oh, I know how I have to do. Okay. It says here, well-known terror organizations like Al-Qaeda, Hezbollah, ISIS were given a low level by New Jersey Homeland Security. So I want you to think about this, ladies and gentlemen. ISIS, even though the government has arrested people who have sympathy and who are considered themselves members, people have traveled back from these different groups, including ISIS. Of course, none of that is true. Check with CNN. They, in New Jersey, are giving them a lower threat level, ISIS, than white people who care about white well-being. Then white people, not even just white people care about white well-being, but white people who are just not anti-white enough. And from memory, I thought I would write down a few of the atrocities committed by ISIS, so you can really get a feel for where these anti-whites categorize you for not being anti-white, being an anti-white or white person and not being anti-white. You are categorized as more of a threat, more of a danger. And this tells you everything you need to know about the anti-whites and should motivate you to extremes in spreading this curative contagion. ISIS atrocities, murdering for failure to convert, mass murder for failing to convert whole towns, torture of manifold variety, things with electric batteries, drill motors, the list, Sanders, the list goes on and on of the most heinous demonic garbage that ISIS is responsible for. Decapitations, the severing off of hands, feet, and legs and arms by ISIS. So this wholesale dismemberment, vivisection by ISIS, cutting people open and pulling their guts out while they are alive, throwing people off the top of buildings, off the top of towers, mass murders, mass rapes, gang rapes, abducting and raping children are all things that ISIS has been reported on doing by media around the world. Of course, none of it's true if CNN says otherwise or YouTube says otherwise, because I'm sure, you know, there must be great ISIS members in there that are not behaving this way. So I know we can't categorize a whole group on YouTube or we get censored. So I'm sure this is not every ISIS member. I'm sure there are some really wholesome ISIS members. But in general, ISIS is responsible for setting people on fire, pouring gasoline on them in cages. Maybe some of you remember, even some of those at YouTube, or chaining them so they can't go anywhere, pouring gasoline on them and setting them on fire so they burn alive. Animalistic slaughter of innocent civilians, and I do mean animalistic, murder on an industrial scale, millennia-old antiquities and archaeological sites looted and destroyed by ISIS, and the intent to subject the entire world to this brutality. That, ladies and gentlemen, the anti-white pieces of filth in New Jersey Homeland Security have rated as less of a threat than white people who are not anti-white. Do you understand who we're up against now? You are not up against people who just have a misunderstanding of our motivations. You are not up against people who think that, well, the world would be a little bit better if it had a little bit more of a socio-political bent this way or socioeconomic bent this way. You are definitely not up against people who are honest when they say, well, I just want to do good for everyone. Listen to the myths of pretext, the moralization, intellectualization, and sentimentalization of these pretexts. I have all of these just boundless love for the out group. I just want to do good for everybody. These are not the people you are up against. You are up against leathern-winged demons from hell. And they mean to inflict harm on our people, on our children. They mean to rob us of all of the bolsters that we need to survive. Our history, our dignity, our heritage, the nutrition that we consume, the entertainment that we absorb. They mean by way of all of it to poison you in every way possible. That is what we're up against. People like this at New Jersey Homeland Department of Security are your victimizers, and they are not anomalies. They are not aberrations. They are the norm in the regime. This is the anti-white elite, and these are the minions doing their dirty deeds for them. These are the malefactors who cannot get enough bloodlust. These are the losers that turn on Hunter and get off to that sickness, and then they go and vote in the actual halls of governance and make decisions that you cannot contradict. Black box decisions about who will get to own a firearm and therefore have a right to self-defense, who will get to travel, who will be put on the targeted violence list. These are the people who want to victimize us, ladies and gentlemen, and you had better move quickly, because it's this decade, it is our decade, and we are going to make it roar, or there won't be another one. And when I say roar, just for all of those FBI agents that are thinking that finally we can come get him, we are talking metaphorically about spreading this curative contagion with love and hope and promise and redemption to all of our brothers and sisters, whether they are anti-white or whether they have taken up the antagonist, donning the antagonist role, donning the clothing, the attire, the accoutrements, the classic symbols of the past in an idiotic way to help our brothers and sisters out there. Whoever they are, we want to bring them into the love and hope and promise of protecting our people, doing what is noble, heroic, and glorious for our folks moving forward and for all time. The destiny is ours. One ailment at a time, one addiction at a time, one school council at a time, one child's life at a time, one neighborhood at a time. We are taking back our destiny. It will look exactly as we want it to look. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is the duty that has been placed upon you. I know every one of you will answer that call. I will see what